The darkest corners, slavery breeding farms of cotton plantations. The history of American slavery is replete with unspeakable horrors. Beyond the fields of cotton and tobacco, a particularly sinister practice thrived: the deliberate breeding of enslaved people. This was a calculated strategy to maximize profits, treating human beings as mere commodities. These breeding farms represent one of the most dehumanizing aspects of slavery. They existed solely to produce more enslaved laborers. The cruelty inflicted within these farms is a stain on American history. The demand for enslaved labor in the burgeoning cotton industry fueled this horrific practice. As cotton production soared, so did the need for enslaved workers to cultivate and harvest the crop. The international slave trade was outlawed in 1808. This ban created a domestic market for enslaved people. Breeding farms emerged as a way to circumvent the prohibition and maintain a steady supply of labor. Enslaved women were forced into sexual servitude. Enslaved women were selected for their physical attributes and childbearing potential. They were often paired with enslaved men chosen for their size and strength. The goal was to produce strong, healthy offspring who could be put to work in the fields. These unions were not based on love or consent. They were calculated decisions made by slave owners to increase their property. The women had no say in who they would be forced to bear children with. Life on a breeding farm was a constant cycle of abuse and exploitation. Enslaved women were often subjected to brutal treatment even during pregnancy. They were forced to work in the fields until they were close to delivery. After giving birth, they were given little time to recover before being forced back to work. Their children were often taken from them at a young age and sold to other plantations. This tore families apart and perpetuated the cycle of trauma. Slave owners viewed enslaved people as property, not as human beings. They saw the breeding of enslaved people as a way to increase their wealth and power. They were willing to sacrifice the well-being of enslaved people for their own financial gain. The justification for this cruelty was rooted in racism and the belief that enslaved people were inferior. This dehumanization allowed slave owners to rationalize their actions and ignore the suffering they inflicted. Despite the horrors they faced, enslaved people never lost their spirit of resistance. They found ways to sabotage the breeding process, such as feigning illness or refusing to cooperate. They also formed strong communities and provided support for one another. Enslaved mothers passed down stories and traditions to their children, preserving their cultural heritage. They instilled in them a sense of hope and a determination to resist oppression. This resilience is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. The existence of slavery breeding farms is documented in historical records, including plantation records, slave narratives, and court documents. These sources provide a glimpse into the brutal reality of this practice. They offer irrefutable evidence of the systematic exploitation of enslaved people. Historians continue to research and uncover new information about these farms. Their work is essential to understanding the full extent of the horrors of slavery. It is also important to remember the victims and honor their memory. The legacy of slavery breeding farms continues to affect African Americans today. The trauma of slavery has been passed down through generations. It manifests in various forms, including poverty, discrimination, and health disparities. Understanding the history of breeding farms is essential to addressing these issues. It is a reminder of the deep-seated racism that continues to plague American society. It is also a call to action to work towards a more just and equitable future. The slavery breeding farms represent one of the darkest chapters in American history. They are a reminder of the inhumanity of slavery and the lengths to which slave owners would go to maintain their power. It is our responsibility to remember this history and to learn from it. We must acknowledge the suffering of enslaved people and honor their resilience. We must also work to dismantle the systems of oppression that continue to perpetuate inequality. Only then can we truly heal from the wounds of the past and create a more just future for all.